Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. Thanks so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. You know, when we get to the time around the holidays, it's really important for us to take a look at how things have gone, how they are going now, and what we can do better. Very glad to have a couple of people who are making plans on how to make things better. Welcome in Captain Lanny Bergeron with Louisiana State Police. Welcome to the program.
How you doing?
All right, very good. Sitting next to him, somebody you see a lot of, Chief Brian Sarang. Chief, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Appreciate it. And so let's go over a little bit about what becomes so challenging at this time of year and what we see with regards to some of the holiday problems and some of the difficulties on the road, DWIs.
Well, mainly we have a culture of, you know, it's parties and things. It's a fun culture here in Louisiana. And then sometimes some people take it to the drinking and driving and all of that, and it tends to cause problems for us. But we have a lot of different avenues now that people didn't have before, as far as Uber and things like that. And that's what we're asking people: if you're going to go out and have fun, be responsible, and get someone, a designated driver, or get someone to call Uber, take you home, or sleep over at the friend's house, because it's not only you may lose your life, but you may take the life of someone else. And one of the strongest things I saw actually on Facebook the other day was Mississippi Highway Patrol was two troopers knocking on the door and making that death notification.
Oh,
so it's
gosh.
like, and that was very touching, and that's something that we don't like to do. It's in our job description, but it's something that as law enforcement, we don't like to do it.
Yeah, probably the most difficult part of your jobs.
Correct.
Right?
Stay over where you're at. Call someone. You know, I always tell friends, I don't mind getting out of bed. You call me, I'd much rather get out of bed and go get you and bring you home safely than you try to conquer the highway and either injure yourself, kill someone else, or, you know, and then it's not well for families.
Right.
And again, I can remember one time when I was still with state police, not only was the holidays when this fatality happened, but this young girl was supposed to get married that Friday, and this happened like on a Wednesday night. So that's hard when you're going, you know, breaking news to a family who's, you know, not only preparing for a wedding, but also preparing for the holidays at the same time.
Yeah, I got to tell you, one of the things I was really impressed by, I've got a family member, he and his girlfriend and their son, they come in, they have a home in South Louisiana where they get to come in for events, and they normally come out. They went to dinner last night, and they Ubered everywhere they went. And I got to tell you, it's just one of those things, they have the option to be able to drive, it's just much smarter to take the Uber. And so it's one of those options that people didn't always have before that now we have.
Right. It's also, I mean, it's showing that if you're going to do that, it's showing you're mature in your thinking, and you're looking at the safety of everyone, you know, out there. So it's I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, we can't be selfish. I mean, when we go out, you know, Uber's good locally, but say you want to go like to the city, get a couple of couples together, and it's cheap. Just get a limo.
Yeah.
Or get a limo bus.
Yeah.
And everybody pitch in. The amount of money you're going to save, you know, in the long run, because again, you could pop for a DWI, you know, a minimum we're looking at maybe $10,000. That's on the low end. That's just getting stopped for DWI and, you know, getting arrested for DWI. It's not worth it, you know.
Right.
Then your insurance and everything else that you have to deal with.
Right.
You know, let's enjoy the holidays.
Right, and it's that it takes some of that stress off. God knows we've had enough stress. I mean, you know, we've talked about it time and time again. I know I'm beating a dead horse about it, but I mean, you know, COVID for almost 2 years now, and IDA on top of that, and we got enough stress. Let's find some ways to reduce that stress.
Oh,
this time of
absolutely.
year.
And we're not saying not to enjoy yourself, have a good time, get together with families and friends. Just be responsible, like the captain said.
Yeah. So, Cap, let's talk about this idea that you came up with. It's something that's kind of new in its fruition as a program, and let's just talk about the beginning of that while we finish up this segment.
Well, it all started last month, where we had just two fatalities, where I think a total of 7 people were killed. And when we looked at it, is 6 of those 7 was under the age of 25. And that kind of stuck to me because, you know, I have my children are under the age of 25. Some of these, you know, everyone's starting, you know, their lives there. So that Sunday, I was sitting down and I got a phone call from the Sheriff Weber from Lafourche, and he says, hey, what can we do, to tackle this? Let's, maybe try to, do a few things. So I got off the phone, and I'm kind of like, I'm always thinking out of the box, always just looking at different things to do. So I came up with ideas like, hey, you know what? We have Troop C has a great community-based. They love the law enforcement here. Law enforcement loves the community, and it's a spectacular thing. So I said, hey, let's get everyone together. District Attorney's Office, Department of Transportation, the Highway Safety Commission, get all these entities together, and let's come up with a plan on how we can, I always use the word attack, on how we can go out there and try to make this better and safer for the public out there. So we've actually had our first meeting, and then last week we had our second meeting, and we're about to implement some of those ideas in the near future.
We're talking a little bit about this program, but let's talk about some of the numbers that have been kind of driving why it's important to develop something new.
Well, the reason we are developing this program of partnerships is just in the month of November, we had 16 people died in crashes, which is unheard of.
It really is.
Normally we average, at the most per month is 5.
5, right.
So
more than 3 times.
Right. So, and our numbers went up. Like this month is exactly the same as last year. So the numbers are right. Yes, we want 0.
Right.
But the numbers, are dropped. So we started doing a few extra things, and those numbers have dropped. Hopefully, some of the things we've been doing from this point has helped to assist with dropping those numbers. But when you have 16 people die in 1 month, there's something that needed to be done. And it's not like we're a real big troop area in this area to have that many. It's not like you're working in a Troop A Baton Rouge area with the amount of traffic here. But so that's why we came up with the idea of changing things. And we're actually we had 11 just state police. We did 11 details since that time, and we've written over 203 citations.
Wow.
In that time, and 58 were seatbelts. We had 31 DWIs. So for the year, we've done personally state police 451 DWIs.
That's a lot.
Out there. So, but one thing that stuck out to me when we was running the numbers, and we're going to implement this, is use of a phone while driving. Normally you can see the trooper car or the police department or the sheriff's department car down, so you're going to put that phone down. But these was in fully marked cars that we saw that we had 18 use of phone citations in this time. So that's, if you're being seen in a car, just think about how many people are there using it. So we're going to actually start, that's going to be a key thing in the future that we're going to try to
kind of implement.
Yeah, implement as far as is putting maybe unmarked cars out there and looking for that and doing enforcement efforts for it, because that is a key. I wish Trooper Brennan was here, because he knows all these numbers.
Right.
To the T. He could rattle the
right?
numbers off. As far as looking down at a phone, how many seconds it takes you, that you can run off the roadway, and it doesn't take any time at all. And when you're driving, I know personally when I'm driving my personal vehicle, you're looking at everyone just sitting there and they're texting on the phone as they're driving, and you can see clearly that their head is down. And that's one of the major reasons also that we have in the amount of crashes we're having is people playing on that phone
and being distracted, and like Chief said earlier,
I think even the hands free is just as bad as having it in your hand, because one, you're not concentrating on your driving, your mind is concentrating on the conversation,
on the phone call.
And I always tell people nothing's that important, and look, police are guilty of it. We
all do the same.
we all guilty of it because we live by that phone.
Right.
But the thing about it is, that split second you take your eyes off the road, you could run across someone trying to cross the road that you didn't see. Car stops suddenly in front because of something that's going on in front. I mean, the bottom line is we need, It's just like if you're at work, pay attention to the job at hand. Same thing when you're driving, that's the job at hand. Pay attention to your driving. Don't take your eyes off the road. Conversation can wait.
Right.
I know back in the oil field, some companies used to make them actually put them in the console, lock them in the console. You couldn't open up the console till you got to where your destination. And if it was that important, they tell you pull off the road somewhere safe in a parking lot and utilize the phone. But don't do it while you're moving down the highway.
And you take that right there, and you take a teenager who doesn't have that experience yet of driving, okay? I remember the first night, got my driver's license, going to prom. Well, I hit the gas pump. I was inexperienced. So just think about those kids coming out that are driving, then texting on the phone. It doubles it.
Right,
You know,
right.
out there. So
And then if you add any kind of substance that's going to make their awareness be less, you made a really good point earlier. Those people that are not paying attention, if you've got somebody who decides, I was at a party, but I don't live that far, it's only a half a mile away, I'll walk home. Well, you got to think about all those people on the roadway that are not being able to see you because you didn't dress thinking about reflectors.
Exactly.
You didn't dress thinking about being able to be seen, and so you end up, that's a high risk area. And it's a really good point about teenagers. They are typically, as per insurance has been determined, the most distracted drivers are between that 15 to 21-year-old.
And one thing I like about, we have a great program right now is Sudden Impact, where we go out to the schools.
Right.
And we do a lot of training with the students. We're constantly in Terrebonne High School. One good thing is we just got into Assumption Parish Schools, so that's great. And we have a good partnership coming up with Nicholls State. When their new students come in next month, we're going to sit down and we're going to have something to work with the police department there. The chief's been phenomenal working with us on that, and we're going to try to train more of the students in that way with a Sudden Impact.
And you know what? You guys have been working really hard together, and there's some significant reasons. And Brian, we were going to talk a little bit about some of these DWIs. We were talking about the reason for them. You've got a few more statistics on those that we wanted to just let people know why we're talking about.
Right.
This.
Just in the city itself, thus far this year for 2021, we had 30 DWI arrests.
30 in the city.
Just in the city of Thibodaux, and then thus far. With Jude is basically the underage drinking, where we check the bars, the daiquiri shops, etc., for anyone underage that's attempting to drink or in there drinking, and we had 105 arrests on that.
Wow!
So you can see where the numbers play.
Sure.
And again, of the 105, 25 was actually done before we even got the money from Highway Safety to start the program up again. So we went ahead. We know how important it is to make sure that we understand and educate. And at the same time, we're not only going out there and cite people, but we're also trying to educate them and make them understand how dangerous it can be to be out there when you're not of age to be in a bar drinking and consuming alcohol.
Right. And, interesting, Captain Lanning mentioned it earlier, Troop C is not that big of an area. It's not that broad area with the number of people. City of Thibodaux's not
5 miles.
that big area. We're talking about 5 miles in diameter, basically. So that's a lot of people who are drinking and underage drinking, and it's important that they understand what that means and the impact and why Sudden Impact makes a difference and why we share that information in other areas.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I was going to say, when I did Sudden Impact, it was so important to see that, you talk to kids that graduated and came out of high schools afterwards, and they remembered the conversations that you had with them in class, because it was very effective to make them understand. And when you start showing them all of this stuff and explaining to them, the reality starts to set in, and some of them had lost family members, so they could relate to it.
Right. And when they see how little it takes to make such a severe accident, how little that amount of time, like Brendan describes, being distracted, all of a sudden this 3,000-pound vehicle can take a life.
Absolutely. And then when you take the Sudden Impact, and then we do the prom thing where we stage a crash.
Correct.
And you see some tears on their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they understand, hey, this is reality. This is reality. And it's not that we're trying to scare anybody. We're just trying to educate them and make them understand. And sometimes it takes that strong force to get it across to make them understand how important of an issue we're dealing with.
Because that's a reality.
Yep.
Correct. I think it's very important. I mean, the simple thing is we have DARE programs, you know, is education to our kids is very important out there because that's our future, you know, and a lot of these kids are smart. A lot of these kids are more responsible than you think out there. We give them a hard time, you know, as parents and everything, but if you teach them right, you know, in the schools, and I think there's some sudden impacts, a great program out there. And you know what? Yeah, sometimes it's harsh reality, and they see it, and they will cry, and they will have feelings. But you know what? It may save their life. You know, it's like going in to teach any school. You know, I've taught all over the country teaching. And my goal was if I could always go in there and at least gain 1 or 2 students, I've succeeded. You know, if you could go there. You're not going to get everyone, but if you could get a few in there, you've succeeded on what you've tried to do.
Yeah, and speaking of education, this coming together of all of these different groups, and you were talking about DOTD, and then learning something from them and them learning something from you for this planning meeting that y'all
And
had.
it's all about communicating.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, you know, they got things going on their side of the house that we're not aware of, but it affects us.
Right.
Same thing, we got things going outside the house that affects them. So by having a meeting like we had the troop and bringing everyone together, it was very important, and I think a lot of people walked away from the table with a lot of information because we started talking about things that everybody's on the same page. So they understand the problems we have, they understand the problems we have. And I think by working together in the group that we had, it was all the right players that can really make a difference by working together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
what I think was very important with that, it was the first initial one was right. All the bosses, all the bosses came in and we sat down, we spoke, and we were 100% on board with everything. And then after, what I asked for was, hey, now let's bring in those lieutenants, those captains, those,
representative.
you know, in your department, who's the people who's going to make things happen. And all the sheriffs, chiefs of police, you know, DAs, everything, everybody was on board. And so that's where we set up our second meeting. We did it through the South Central Safe Community. We did it there at their building, and it was very successful. So we had all those leaders there as far as inside the department, and we came up with a plan.
Okay.
And actually, our first plan is going to be
Tomorrow night,
initiated
yeah.
tomorrow night in Lafourche Parish. We're going to have a DWI checkpoint.
Oh, excellent.
So we're going to have St. James, Thibodaux, Terrebonne, Thibodaux Police Department, Terrebonne, and Lafourche Sheriff's Department, St. James Sheriff's Department. They're going to be there. And we're going to invite any other departments if they want to be a part of it. They're more than welcome to come. We've sent that out. But one good thing is we set up a group, and they're communicating, and we're going to do a lot more in the future and on this. So we're going to try to work together because, look, everyone knows we're all short out there.
Right. So coming together as a group, we improve our efficacy about providing programs and keeping people safe.
Exactly. And plus, when you do that, you build relationships with the departments
Right.
out there, and, you know, you get everyone on the same page. So I think it's going to be a good program. We're taking baby steps as we go, but we're actually having true conversation, and we're listening to one another. It's not a one department is better than the other. If we work
it's
together,
everybody together.
we all win.
We look forward to getting more information, and we look forward to getting some people off the road that shouldn't be on there. We appreciate you both for having your time today. Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.